Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis, and ecstatic to be here with Jerry Bell, the Daz Band, New Birth. He's done it all. Now he's on his own with a phenomenal career, traveling all over the world and spreading not only love, but good tunes and good vibes. Jerry, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, and welcome to my home. And,
Exactly. No, let's talk about that. We wanted to be able to come into your home, and we appreciate you being willing to have us here just to kind of share in all that you've accomplished. And let's roll back the clock just a little bit and really talk about, we covered it a little bit, but for the viewers, because they don't get to hear some of the behind the scenes conversations, how'd you get interested in music and finally to find your voice?
My family is it's a big musically inclined type of family. You know, first it started off with my mom, of course, because she was a singer, a gospel singer. She sang in the church, and you know, we all, if you come up like that, you come up in the church. Absolutely. And then the second, my oldest brother's Archie Bell, who had a group in the 60s and 70s called Archie Bell and the Drells. And they had big records called Tighten Up, It's Gonna Be a Showdown, Can't Stop Dancing, that kind of thing. And then my second cousin is Robert Cool Bell from Kool and the Gang. And you know what their hits are, Ladies Night and all that stuff.
Heard a couple.
Okay. And then my third cousin is Tom Bell, who was the writing partners with Gamble Huff. So it was Gamble Huff and Bell, Philly International Record Company, and they produced everybody from Teddy Pendergrass, Delphonic, Spinners, you name it. All that Philly sound.
Exactly, right.
So that's my musical legacy, and then having the opportunity to sing lead with the Daz Band for a while, and then of course with New Birth was first. With New Birth and the hits that we had. It's been such a long time. I Can Understand It, Wildflower, those things, and then Daz Band, Let It Whip, Keep It Live, Swoop, all the funk, you know what I mean?
We just can't sit still and listen to the songs. You gotta move.
Oh yeah. But prior to that too, just working in the industry with a lot of entertainers, my inspiration to doing this work, most of people that came up from my generation or your generation, was James Brown.
Right, absolutely.
So James was like, you see a James Brown show and it's like, I want to perform, So it was James Brown, Jackie Wilson, Otis Redding.
Right.
My friend Isaac Hayes, who's passed on now, Michael Jackson, who I work with quite a bit, So I've had an opportunity to, a lot of people, man. Right. A lot of people, a lot of music, and now I'm doing stuff around the world. I'm in China. I have a company with my Chinese business partners called Chinagram. Okay. And my main business partner there, his name is Chin Jin. So we're now bringing the R&B Hall of Fame to China. So they're breaking the ground right now on building my city in Beijing, and then also the R&B Hall of Fame museum in Beijing. Okay,
so we got to roll back a bit because you've covered so much in a mouthful. Let's talk about the Philly sound. You mentioned that, and some of the artists and the way you actually got into performing and then doing that first song.
Okay. Well, my partners was McFadden Whitehead. We grew up together, came up on the same street. I'm from West Philly, so we came up on the same street and we hung out and we did martial arts together and that kind of thing. So being in the studio with them a lot, I got a chance to, do some offset things, and with them, another artist who's passed on now by the name of Bunny Siegler. And Bunny Siegler wrote a lot of hits. They wrote for the OJs, they wrote for Major Harris, the Spinners, Teddy Pendergrass, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and this goes on. And so that was the inspiration, the Philly sound, and growing up at the time that I was growing up, when you see cats on the corner doo-wopping, singing, and it'd be cold outside, snowing, they'd be standing on the corner harmonizing, or we practice in our basements, that kind of thing. So yeah, man, it's a lot of music, man, a lot of music. Then when I moved from my mother and father were separated when I was younger.
Okay.
So my father was in Philly. My mom is a Floridian. She was from Florida. So when I was younger, I was split between spending the winters of Philadelphia in Florida and the summers of Philadelphia, of Florida and Philly in Philadelphia with my dad.
Right.
So when I was in Florida, I happened to hook up with with a guy by the name of Jimmy Bohorn, who had a record out called Dance Across the Floor, and Clean Up Man came out after this sister by the name of Betty Wright.
Sure.
I did, Betty Wright had did that, and then there was a record label out of Miami called Tone Distributors.
Okay.
So Tone, or TK Records, was producing a lot of hits coming up out of the South, up out of there, and working as far as performing with Jimmy Bohorn, and then performing with Betty Wright, and there's another gentleman by the name of Timmy Thomas, and George McCrae. He did the song "Woman, Take Me in Your Arms and Rock You, Baby." You know that.
Of course.
So I had a band back then that used to back everybody. The name of the band was called the Miami Ocean Liners, which was the baddest band on the planet. I would have put them up against anybody.
It was your band, we know it was bad.
No, I'd put them up against anybody.
What were some of the instruments you had?
We had everything. We had horn players. We had a full band, bass, guitar, 2 guitar players. We had 4 horn players, drummer. The band was insane. Well, that band, if you go on YouTube and pull up KC and the Sunshine Band,
I've heard.
Well, they became the Sunshine Band for KC.
I see.
And when they became the Sunshine Band for KC is when I ended up becoming one of the lead singers for the New Birth.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's, some little bit of history.
No, but it's helpful because not a lot of viewers know all these pieces and all these components about your past, because it has spanned so much time, and you've put out so many hits, and that's not something that's easy to do. Where do you think that came from in terms of just being able to light fire and get that in a bottle?
It wasn't me by myself, everything had to do with the writers that were writing for us at the time, or either the band members that were writers as well, that were writing in the group. We had a lot of people that wrote a lot of the hits. And Dougal Chancellor, Reggie Andrews wrote Let It Whip. On the Newburgh stuff, when we did Wildflower actually was sung by a white group called Skylark. Okay. But we made it popular. Right. And then the OJs did it after us. Right. So and then I Can Understand It was written and done by Bobby Womack. Sure. And so then we came back and did it, and it became a popular song after that in the New Birth. And then as far as the other hits on the Daz Band stuff, from Swoop, Keep It Live, Joystick, those songs were written or co-written by Bobby Harris, who was one of the leaders of the group, Michael Calhoun, Skip Martin, who was one of the other singers in the group. We had different writers, and then Barry Gordy, because we were on Motown labels. So Barry Gordy had a lot of stuff, had a lot to do with it. Smokey Robinson was one of the tunes that we did for him, that he wrote, that we did as well. So
right. I know he's a great songwriter.
Yeah.
So you are really big in China, and you love the culture.
Oh, absolutely.
And they've embraced you.
Oh, absolutely.
How did all that come to be? I know you hinted at it really quickly in the beginning, but we need to unfold that.
My years of being in Southeast Asia, I spent a lot of years in Japan, in Malaysia, Singapore, and in Korea and in China. And so I speak the languages. And so because you speak the language, it gets you closer to the people, because they feel as though you respect their culture even if you're trying to have a conversation with them. And it makes business easier as well. And so what ended up happening was, because I could speak Chinese, I was introduced to a company here in Los Angeles, in Alhambra, that was doing a TV show called America's Got Talent.
Right.
Right.
Heard a couple of.
So, but it's the Chinese version of America's Got Talent,
Right.
And so they had me on the show as a judge, and so this show is shown all throughout China. So I'm on the show, I'm speaking Chinese, one thing leads to another, then I get an invitation to come to China. So the first time I go over, I meet a lot of different people in business, and that's when I met my business partner.
Right.
And then one thing led to another, and then we started going over and doing concerts, and it just blew to the roof,
Right.
So we have a recording studio there in Beijing, and then we go back and forth. We would have been in China this year if it wasn't for this COVID madness,
Sure. No.
But last year we were there, year before last, and we sell out. We go, so it's beautiful.
And let's talk about why the music is so popular. We know, but just to even share for the audience, not only overseas, but these hits continue to be played at weddings, continue to be people that had kids by them, continue to be the love songs, continue to be the biography of 60s, 70s, 80s.
Right.
What are the elements that you think make it so timeless?
Because it's real. It's not synthetic,
Right.
And unfortunately, I get this argument when the youth talk to me about rap and all this other kind of stuff, man.
Sure.
It's like, it's not music, man. Music is if you sit down and you're writing notes,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Actually,
That's a language,
Yeah.
right? And that's a language that they don't speak.
Right.
So that's real. The other thing is when you're playing an instrument, when you're
Right.
playing the drums and you feel the beat of the drums and you're sitting in an audience and you can feel those drums and the horns and the guitar player playing, it's an emotional love-making session.
Exactly.
That's basically happening,
Right.
and it's a healing force that they have no clue about, because the vibrations of the sound waves are totally different than getting in a computer and doing some stuff on a laptop and saying, "Oh, I'm a producer," or "I'm a musician." No. It don't work like that. So this is the difference, and they're taking shortcuts
Right.
to get through to something that's not real, and that's why it doesn't last forever. To where our music, you go anywhere in the world, and they're playing it 24/7, and they want it. In China, they're putting together a program right now where we're going into to the universities and the high schools, which are like by the thousands,
Right.
and doing clinics and teaching music and voice and that kind of thing. And for those who play instruments, because they want to play like us,
Right.
they want that sound.
Exactly.
And the beautiful thing about China that's different from Japan, different from Korea. Japan and Korea are basically used to the American way of doing music,
Right.
where China is just now opening up their doors
Okay.
and saying that, okay, we're gonna let you come in, but we got to trust you first.
Right. Right.
We got to trust that you ain't spies,
Right,
and
right,
this
exactly,
kind
all
of
these
thing.
things.
So it's a beautiful thing, man, because I'm first at it. And,
Right.
we say first in time, first in line, first in time.
Exactly.
So
Sure.
yeah.
No, that is so necessary. We think to make really great music is to have instruments, which is what I was asking you about, who was in the band, to actually sing,
Yes, absolutely.
and like you implied, leave out all the synthesized sound, because would you say that it doesn't even we were going to get a little bit more into the healing piece, but it doesn't even literally resonate in the body and have the same effects when it's synthesized versus when it's the real vibrations and sounds?
Well, I mean, synthesized we use in live concerts for various things.
Right.
Say for instance, if you don't have string players, you can actually program live strings into your synthesizer, and it'll give that sound. But on a record, trying to synthesize a guitar, or you put what do they call it? They put on the voice to make them
like
sound.
auto-tuning.
Yeah, auto-tuning. The auto-tuning,
Right.
I don't know about no auto-tuning, You got to sing,
Sure.
you know what I mean? And so, and what's so funny is when I was coming up to trying to sing, there was a group out of Florida. They were called the Enchanters.
Mm-hmm.
There's a group called Enchantment,
right?
Which is they're great. But there was this group called the Enchanters, and it was five guys. Right. Two of them were brothers, and they were bad. I mean, I put them up against the Temptations, anybody, right? Well, we all knew each other because I used to date the two brothers. I used to date their sister, and so I would always go to this one brother. His name was Spoochie, and I go to him. I said, Spoochie, how does it sound, man? How does it sound? He tell me, Bell, go back and practice. Go back and practice. Every time I come to him, he say, go back and practice. And I never complained about him telling me, hey man, you sound bad, go and practice. Right. So through the years of hearing that, and then the regimentation of watching how they worked, watching how the Miami Ocean Liners worked, watching how all these great performers worked, then it resonated with inside of me, and then watching my brother, do his thing. So that had a lot to do with it. And then Cool, it's like I gotta have them sounds, it's gotta be big. I like a big band. So right now I have a 15-piece band. Right. And all my cats in the band, they write, they're composers, they play. I mean, they're bad boys, and they're seasoned musicians. And some of them used to play with other people, from Al Jarreau to Gladys Knight and Stevie Wonder and Earth, Wind and Fire. So I have that kind of a sound with me. And then I have a 22-piece orchestra. Wow. So. Right. So we work.
Keeping it real.
Absolutely. Man.
Not to put you on the spot, but if we just tried to pick a sound, just a couple of notes from when you were younger, something that you either appreciate or love, a song that you maybe even would sing for your mom to make her proud. What might something like that sound
Many
like?
guys have come to you with a line that wasn't true, and you passed them by. The Delphonics, of course. That was my favorite group. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Delphonics, and then group-wise, and then from there, after them was the Moments, and then it was a group called the Temprees. I always liked that tenor type sound, and then James Brown, of course. Brown was the man, and then I love the Jacksons. All of them, they're my buddies anyway. So yeah,
awesome. And let's just talk about now what you have planned, what you're working on with your new album, because I've gotten a chance to listen to that. Thank you, and how that idea came to basically, it sounds like, sing some of the favorite music that you have. Artists that you
what
love.
I'm doing is I'm doing basically what Luther Vandross was doing. I'm covering other people's material, because number one, the material from our generation was outstanding, and this generation has not heard it, and they don't really know how to appreciate this. So I'm pulling it back and keeping us alive. Then two, overseas, it's like we want it. And three, I think that our history has to be captivated, and that's my job, is to do that, along with writing my own stuff too. But I really appreciate the music from the past, and I think that it should be exploited and seen and heard, that kind of thing. So, and so many other things that I've done a couple of music videos. One is Wishing on a Star from Rolls Royce, and the other I love James Bond, so I ended up doing one of the James Bond tunes was called Skyfall. I did a music video on it, and whoever goes to my website, which is jerrybellmusic.com, and you can see all the stuff that I'm doing, and it's a lot of history on that side.
Sure. Oh yeah, you cover.
Yeah,
quite a few years. Yeah. And speaking about covering, you've got an amazing wall here. So
my wall of shame.
yes, your wall of fame or shame. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of.
So I'm going to show you what's on my wall of, I call shame. You call it wall of fame.
Exactly.
But it's my wall of fame. Yeah. All right. So this is the New Birth, which actually this lists all the albums that we've done. This is the Daz Band, so this is like basically a lot of the records that Daz Band that was done by Daz Band, from Let It Whip to Joystick. This is from Daz Band's Wild and Free, and then this is the Been Such a Long Time album, Platinum from New Birth. And this is my album that was pretty big overseas in Japan. This is my brother's, which was presented to me Archie and the Drells. This record, Dance Your Troubles Away, was produced by McFadden Whitehead. And then over here, it's Michael Jackson. These are my favorite ones too. So the Bad album, I worked with Mike on the Bad tour that Gamble and Huff had something to do with too, which was the Triumph album.
Right.
And then that was presented to me from the Jacksons. And then, where are we at? These are the Grammys. One is for Dad's Band, Let It Whip, and the other one is for New Birth's Wildflower.
Sure. Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis. We're ecstatic to be joined by and in the home of Jerry Bell, the one and only Dad's Band, New Birth, you name it, he has done it. He has worked with everybody, and I mean everybody in the business. Not to mention just such renowned history when it comes to music. And in every person's life, every musician's life, even it can happen that something goes wrong, an accident they didn't anticipate or a health illness that may beset them. Mm-hmm. What happened in your case with respect to, I know we were talking a little bit earlier about your back.
Right.
And they cause pain, which is certainly something I see every day.
I was in a, I wasn't in, but someone hit me from the back of the car.
Right.
And it crushed the back of the car in so bad that if I would have, because I had actually parked to rest because I've been driving for a while and I was tired, and I barely sleep. I do 3 hours a day of sleeping, and then I'm up, I'm writing, I'm painting, I'm doing something, training, whatever. And so this particular time, it just so happened I didn't let the seat back, because normally I would just recline the seat back and I would go to sleep, but I didn't this time. I just knocked out with the seat up, and boom, I got hit from the back. And the way that they hit the car, the impact was so strong that they crushed they pushed the back seat up into the front seat.
Right, wow.
And if my seat would have been back, I would be dead.
Right. So like an accordion effect.
Yeah.
No doubt, I suspect it was dark and late and they didn't see the car.
Absolutely.
And just ran right into it.
Yeah, so from that, I inquired a lot of back pain, sciatica, that kind of thing. Sure. And then plus from years of competing in martial arts, just competing a lot, you get injuries, you're getting hit, you're getting thrown, you punch, this kind of thing, So it didn't help with the back injury. Right. So for a long time I was going through a lot of pain, and then I started getting acupuncture. Right. I don't take over-the-counter medicine, so I do a lot of herbs, natural medicines, and then the karate helped me. Sure. The martial arts helped me quite a bit to take away a lot of the stress that was on the body.
Right. And that's what I wanted to get into. You've been doing martial arts pretty much since you were a kid.
Yeah, since I've been doing martial arts for over almost 40 years now.
Wow. And what got you interested in it and allowed you to continue to grow, train, get belts, and then compete? When
I was a kid, I used to get chased home. Well, my father was a career military man. Okay. And I didn't know that he was home on leave. And I'm, jetting down this alley. And at the end of the alley was my pop. Right. And then behind me were the kids that were going to accost me. Right. So my father told me, he said, it was 5 boys. Right. My father told me, he said, you either whip them, I'm gonna whip you.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
We heard that in our family many times. So that's the thing.
So I put up a good fight, got beat up pretty bad, but he said, you don't run home from nothing. You don't run from anything. Right. And so there was a karate school around the corner from where I lived at in Philadelphia. It was called the East Coast Karate Association, and the teacher that I trained under, they had just started deploying Japanese masters here to teach in the U.S. And so this one teacher that I started training under, his name was Teriyuki Okazaki. Right. And so Mr. Okazaki became, almost like a second dad. Right. And plus, my father was a judo master on the judo team in the military. Right. And so I was studying judo from him. Right. and then Japanese karate, which is called Shotokan from Mr. Okazaki. Right. And then that led from there to, this long history of me training, and then going from the United States to Japan, right. and studying and training in Japan. Wow. And I trained with actually the second in command to the founder of Shotokan, right. which his name was Mr. Nakayama. So I trained under Nakayama Sensei. Actually, I was in the dojo the day that he died. Wow. On the floor. He died in bowing out. That was his last bow. So then I came back to the U.S., and then I started training here in California with my teacher until he died, which was Mr. Nishiyama, Hirataka Nishiyama. Mm-hmm. So I trained with Nishiyama at JKA system for almost 20-some years. And then he passed, and then I trained with another teacher out of Las Vegas named Ozumi Ozawa. I trained with Mr. Ozawa for some years. And then another teacher of mine in Japan by the name of Yojiro Ishikawa. So I trained under Mr. Ishikawa Sensei. And then I started training here under a brother from New York City by the name of Dr. Moses Powell. Okay. Dr. Moses Powell. Right. And he has a system called Sanukis. Okay. And Sanukis is like urban combat. Right. So Dr. Powell, he was like the bodyguard for Minister Louis Farrakhan. He was the bodyguard for Malcolm X. He was he taught the FBI. He trained quite a few people, bodyguard for a lot of celebrities and stuff. Right. And Dr. Powell is very, very famous on the East Coast, Philadelphia, Chicago, Detroit, New York, Jersey, in the Bahama Islands. The organization is very, very huge. Right. And then I also trained in not just the hand-to-hand combat, open hand combat, but I trained, as you can see on my wall, I have swords right there. That's nice. So I trained in a system called Iaido, which is a live sword, at a place called the Shinkageru Dojo in Kyoto, Japan. And actually, this is you can sit down. Okay. This is one of my favorite swords. This is what they call a Musashi blade. Miyamoto Musashi was a very, very famous swordsman in Japan, and this is the Musashi blade. Wow. Very sharp. Cut through armor. Right. Wow. Cut through a Teflon vest. Will split you in half. Right. Definitely. Wow.
Absolutely. Now, how has it helped you with your core strengthening, with your back pain, and things like that? And why would you recommend it for other people also consider it that have a love?
Well, one thing is the weight of the sword actually allows you to strengthen up all of this up in here. Right. And then when you're using your chi, which we call it chi or kimi, right, coming from the navel and the groin area, and the way you stance, your stances and your strikes. I practice like 1,000 times striking, right, or 500 times just kind of strike, just striking like this, and standing in a specific stance. It helps strengthen up the core because you're using, if I can stand up and do this, you're using the hips area, and then a certain way that you stand. If you're sitting like what we call a horse position, right, a ride horse position, which keeping the back straight, and the stomach tucked in, so it helps to keep the core strong up in here.
So it's really engaging a lot of the abdominal muscles.
Yeah, and then turning, twist. Right. Twist, that kind of thing, like that. So when you twist and punching at the same time too. So.
Wow. So, so a lot of that helps for the back muscles, engage them, keep them strong, and things like that. What advice would you give, especially given the number of years that you've studied martial arts and use this as a way to strengthen your core, for someone who has a back injury? People have back pain, because it's very common. See it every day.
One is, I would suggest, I get a lot of massage. I have someone to come and massage me, or either I'll go to a specific place. Here, preferably I go to Koreatown and get massages. When I was in Japan, I got them like 3-4 times a day. You know? if you have someone that can work your body, because it's very important to touch.
Right.
It's very important because you feel the electrons and the radiation from another human's touch on the body. And then using specific types of oils that can help with the back, acupuncture again, and cupping does a lot for it.